Hi guys, my name is Collie Ennis and I work with the Herpetological Society of Ireland. And the Herpetological Society of Ireland are the people who look after our native amphibians and reptiles. And today I'm going to be talking to you about a great thing that you can do to help your local populations of frogs or newts, which are amphibians that live in our country, by building one of these. It's a pond that you can pop in your school. This is a pretty big pond, but I'm going to show you how you can do mini ponds. And when you can learn how to do a mini pond, you can scale that up. So once you learn how to do the smaller ones, you can just apply that knowledge and put in a pond to whatever size you want to do. But a good start is a mini pond. So we're going to go through that with you guys today. So one of the first things you have to do when you're deciding to put in a pond is to pick a location, and that can be tricky. So what we're looking for is about 50% light and 50% shade. You don't want too much light on your pond because then you'll get algal blooms and that can be very destructive to the pond. You just end up with green pea soup, and you don't want it in the shade completely because leaves and other detritus will fall in. So if you can pick a place that's not too shaded and not too bright, that would be perfect. If you haven't got that space and you just have an open field, by all means put the pond in. There's ways of getting around that. Or if you only have a forested area, you can still put a pond in. But ideally what you're looking for is that mix. Again, if you don't have it, if you put it in one of the other extremes, it will definitely still be used by wildlife, so don't overthink it. Okay, so the first thing you have to do when you're doing this type of pond, I will be talking about a raised pond after this, but for this type of pond is very simple. You dig a hole. So you have to start off with your hole. Now it looks very messy right now, but as you can see on the edge here, I've dug down. I have slopes on the side. I'm not making this pond particularly deep because I know frogs are going to use it to hibernate in, and it's a small one. So if you can get down to about 3 foot or 2.5 foot or even 2 foot will do, just to give them a place where they can rest over the winter and not get frozen. The ice can form across the top of the pond and the frogs will be very happy at the bottom. So as soon as I've dug my pond, I'm going to either use a pond liner, which you can buy, but let's say we're on a budget, which I constantly am. We're going to use bits of old cardboard, newspaper, and essentially what that's doing is blocking any hard stones, bits of glass, anything that can puncture our liner that's going to go in. So we'll have a look at that after I've finished. Now the cardboard's in. It doesn't look very pretty at the moment, but the next phase will sort that out. So your liner. So this is a plastic liner. You can get them anywhere online, garden centres, pet shops, loads of places to get them. Most of them are relatively cheap. And they're fantastic because what they'll do is they'll hold the water in there during the warm months of the summer and let the animals live out their lives in peace and happiness. So I've cut this out about twice as big as the hole I have here. There are online websites where you can actually put in the size of the hole you've dug, the dimensions of it, and it will calculate for you the size of the pond liner you need. So you can use them, just Google that. And what you want to do is cut it so it's big enough that it will cover over the edge of the pond and come out to about here or so. And the same goes for a larger pond. Just make sure you have a good bit of liner at the sides, exposed at the start. So now my liner is in on top of the protective lining I've put underneath, which can be either bought or recycled cardboard or even sand if you have it. Anything just to cushion the liner between the hard soil. And you can see it's already looking a lot better than it did. And now the next phase is to fill it up with water. So we'll get cracking on that. Now we've got our pond full of water. It's starting to look like a pond now. It can be difficult sometimes if you have a pond in the middle of a field somewhere in your school. How will you get the water over there if you haven't got a long enough hose pipe? Wheelie bins are fantastic. The recycling bins, if you haven't got holes in the bottom, you can fill them up with water and get someone to drag them across. That's a really good option that we've used in schools before. Or else you can leave it out for the winter months, and the rain should fill it up. Just a couple of options for you there. What I would normally have done is let this sit and let the rain, which is pouring down here in Wicklow, fill this up over the winter. But just for the purpose of this video, I'm after filling it up there, and now I'm gonna show you what you do just to finish it off, because you can see around the edges it's quite bare. And for wildlife, all pond wildlife, you need access to and from the pond. You don't want a frog or a newt or dragonfly larva stuck here and slipping on the plastic liner. You need to let them get in and out. So what I'm going to do now is gather some stones, some moss, some soil, and I'm going to start packing it in around the side. Anything like sphagnum moss, leaves, this kind of an idea here. Put some rocks to keep the liner down, and you want to build that up so none of the liner is exposed. You want to have the moss coming right down into the water. If you're using dirt, a really good option is to use the dirt you used when you dug up the pond, just to push it back in around the edges, and that really helps cover it. It also makes it look super natural, like it's been there forever, and that's the idea. So I'll get going on that and get back to you. Now, as you can see, I've almost finished the edge of the pond. It looks super natural. It's perfect for creatures to crawl in and out the mossy slopes. The water level is still a little bit low, but I'm going to allow the rain to fill it right up, and that will come up to the edge of the plants there. And that's how simple it is to build a small mini pond. That's about a metre long and about 2 or 3 foot wide, and the same depth. But that is perfect for amphibians to use, especially if you have frogs and newts around. They'll absolutely adore a little spot like this, and it's very, very easy to put together in a relatively short amount of time. Now I'm going to show you very quickly how to put in a raised pond. So this is a very much here's one I built earlier job, but if you look here, that is a under your bed tub from IKEA, that you would use for putting your shoes in, clothes, also all that kind of stuff. Now this is a tub I put in last year, and as you can see, it's full of life. And what all you have to do is pop it down on the ground, pour some water in it, and make sure the water isn't tipping left or right. If it is, you can stuff stones underneath it to balance it out. So you just want a very level water table in the tub itself. Then you pack it in with rocks like this. Now I'm going to pack all these boulders and rocks. You can use logs, you can use bricks, anything that will allow animals to crawl up and into the water. There's a multitude of options. What I also did was I put bits of grass from my garden in around the edges, and moss, and you can see how they've grown in. I'll get my shadow out there. You can see how they've grown in right around the edge. Here's another similar pond made out of a tub right beside it, and you can see how beautiful that looks. They almost look like little wishing wells. They're gorgeous little ponds, and very, very simple to put up if you're lacking in space, or you have a concrete bottom that you can't dig into to do the pond we did earlier on. Now I'm just going to get cracking on this, finish it off, because I needed to tidy it up a little bit coming into winter, and you can have a look at it when I'm done. Now there it is, finished off. A very, very simple idea, very easy to do. You can see I've covered all the plastic in. Even if you haven't covered it all in, if you have the right type of plants like mosses and grasses that will grow wild around it, they'll cover it in very, very quickly. And you want that to happen because you don't want the plastic exposed, because the sunlight on the plastic will perish it and cause it to crack. So there you go, guys. 2 simple ideas for ponds for your school. So just to finish off, I wanted to show you this pond. My most successful pond just looks like a little puzzle in the garden, and all that is the same as the first pond we did in a grassy area. It could be the back of your GAA pitch or a corner of the school. And there's a liner in there dug down, It's about 1.5 meters long by 1/2 meter wide, and it's relatively deep in the middle, about 2 foot. And all the grasses have taken over and grown in around it, and the frogs absolutely love it. I mean, they love this kind of an area where it's very grassy and it's moist. You can keep an eye on it too. If it starts to dry out during the summer and you have tadpoles in there, you can always top it up because you have the liner in there. Ponds aren't just good for frogs and newts, they're fantastic for all sorts of inverts. As soon as you put the pond in, you're going to see wildlife showing up. You'll see foxes and badgers coming up and drinking out of it. You'll see all sorts of nature arriving. It's great for pond dipping for your biology class, and it's just really interesting to watch it develop. If you need more information on pond building, you can contact me on Twitter. I'm Collie Ennis, or the HSI, the Herpetological Society of Ireland, on our social media, and we'll be very, very happy to give you some advice on maintaining and keeping your pond going. I hope this was interesting to you guys. Thanks for listening to my little pond talk, my pond appreciation talk. They are a fantastic outlet for nature, to get close to nature, and you're really doing Mother Nature a great service by putting one in your schools.